So, after lunch crowd. When I go home this afternoon, Jeff will ask, well, how did it go? And I always feel like that if everybody just stayed awake, it was a good day. So let's not ruin our record here so I can tell Jeff that it went fine, right? So we all stayed awake. Kelly, you're right about the sound. Isn't it beautiful to hear the sound of voices, women's voices singing praise to God? I don't know if we'll have a women's chorus in heaven, but if we do, I hope you'll all be part of it because this sounded great. It has just been such a privilege and a pleasure to be with you today, and I appreciate that opportunity. And I know you join me in thanking all of the women who worked so hard to pull this off in such a beautiful and wonderful way. I know it was a labor of love, but it was work for sure. And if we've ever planned any kind of an event and executed on it, we know that to be the case. So I hope you can all go home now and put your feet up. So in our last session together, it's titled Sharing Gifts of Love. And we're going to narrow our focus now to thinking about our family and our friends that we love and want to give gifts of love to. And it could be literally a gift with a package and a gift bag with tissue paper, or it could be something else, the way you support them, the way you compliment them, the way you encourage them. And we're going to be using Gary Chapman's 5 love languages as sort of a jumping off point for talking about that. If you're familiar with the 5 love languages, you know that he was a counselor, and he was able to identify 5 categories of the way people like to receive love. And it's great, obviously, for premarital counseling, marriage counseling, as well as just friendships and family members. I have a friend who said when her husband married his wife, that nobody in the family knew it, but she had grown up in a family where gifts were really important. Birthdays and special occasions, and the gift itself was important. My friend didn't know that, and she kind of found out the hard way that she had been disappointing her daughter-in-law, which she would never have wanted to do. And so as we talk about this in a few minutes, just listen for things that you may pick up on that suggest, wow, there's a family member that I might want to consider giving gifts or support in a different way. You know, during Jesus' ministry, he went from place to place, and he gave gifts of love, though not in a gift box. And he gave it to the way that would be meaningful to those people. To the sick, he gave health. To the hungry, he gave food. And to his apostles, he gave them gifts of instruction and example. And when we give people gifts, especially close family members and friends, we want them to have something that's meaningful to them, right? I don't know if you're a good gift giver. I'm not a particularly good gift giver. I don't feel like I pick out the right thing. So let's take a look at the 5 love languages and how that can help us in our conversation today. And by the way, 5 Love Languages website, it's 5lovelanguages.com. You can take an online quiz. It's free, and you can see what your love language is, and the results will pop up. And then, of course, there are all kind of books that you can buy as well. So as we review these love languages, no doubt you'll identify your own love language. And as you think about family and friends, you'll also likely identify some of those. Realize that because we like to receive gifts in a certain way, we're probably giving those gifts in the same way. However, the question is, am I giving gifts in the way I like to receive them, or am I giving gifts in the way they like to receive them? So this also helps us identify our natural tendencies because it's based kind of loosely on our personality profiles. And so those personality tendencies might also lead someone to figure out, wow, in a way to serve, that could be something I could do here at church or as an individual. So the 5 love languages. First one is the words of affirmation, and see if this sounds like you or somebody you know. If this is your love language, unsolicited compliments mean the world to you. Hearing the words, I love you, are important, as are hearing the reasons behind that love. Kind, encouraging, and positive words are truly life-giving. So how might this person serve others? When we think about activities here at church, they might be welcoming to those new members and to those visitors because they would be inclined to reach out to them. They might express appreciation to someone who prepared a meal at a fellowship or at a day like today. They want others to know how they made a difference when they did whatever they were being complimented for. And they may be good note writers or text people for notes of encouragement with text and cards. The second love language is quality time. And for these people, nothing says I love you like full, undivided attention. And in today's world, that's a little hard, isn't it? Especially with our cell phones in our hands. Being there for this person is critical, but really being there without distractions makes this person feel truly special and loved. Quality time also means sharing quality conversations and quality activities. How might this person serve? They may not say a lot, but they're always there. They show up. They may be quietly sitting in a waiting room with families at a hospital when you can still do that. They may visit with someone who's lonely. They value quality time, and they will give it to others. And we love to have these people as friends, don't we? 3, acts of service. Anything you can do to ease the burden of responsibilities weighing on an acts of service person will speak volumes to them. The words that they want to hear are, let me do that for you. How might they serve? These are people who are often working behind the scenes. They clean the kitchen after a church fellowship, and they even take the towels home and wash them and bring them back by Wednesday night. They maybe will babysit for a young mother. They drive someone to a doctor's appointment. Things that they can say, here, let me do this for you. 4, physical touch. Hugs, pats on the back, holding someone's hand, thoughtful touches on the arm. Physical presence is crucial. Physical touches are ways to show concern to this person and care and love and foster a sense of security and belonging. How do they serve? You know, elderly people in nursing homes really miss the warmth of touch. And this is the person who doesn't timidly go into the room to visit this elderly friend. They barge into the room and they go directly for a chair. They pull the chair up by the bed and they reach out and hold that person's hand. And that means the world to them, doesn't it? They will literally be the shoulder to cry on. They're going to be there for you. They're going to give you a big hug. They'll open their arms to a child who walks into Sunday school and wants a big hug from their Sunday school teacher. And the last one is receiving gifts. The receiver of gifts thrives not on materialism, as some might think, but on the love and the thoughtfulness and the effort that went behind the gift that was given. The perfect gift or gesture shows that they are known and cared for and prized above whatever was sacrificed to be able to give that gift. How might they serve? This person might drop an anonymous gift card in the mail to someone. They might send a gift basket to a family who just relocated. They may bring a box of snacks to a family who's sitting with a loved one in the hospital. And they may give you something and just say, I saw this and I thought of you. Are you beginning to identify your own love language and perhaps the love language of other people? Jeff and I we haven't done this together, but I think I can rule out the gift giving. And we knew this pretty early in our marriage. We had been married a little over a year when we moved to Rock Hill. And it was coming up on our anniversary time. And so in Rock Hill at the time, there was a kiosk in the middle of the mall, and some of you may remember it, and it had Hallmark cards in it. So I was driving home from work one day, remembered, got to get a card for the anniversary, stopped off at the mall. Went in, carefully picked out the right card, and I took it out, and I was heading toward the cash register. And when I rounded the bend toward the cash register, I literally ran into Jeff, who had been on the other side, picking out a card, and was heading toward the cash register. Well, we are not real sentimental people about things like this, and so being ever practical and being on a budget, being newly married, we said, here. And we read the card, and I think I may have shed a little tear maybe because it was so sweet, and then we looked at each other and we closed it back up, and we each returned it to the rack. Sorry, Hallmark. Lost that one. So we may not be the gift-giving folks in the 5 love languages, but I'm hoping that there's a takeaway here again that says, is there a way that I didn't even know about that I can give gifts and support and express my love to these people who in my life that I want to do something for, but I want it to matter. I want them to feel loved. And so maybe you can identify their love language, have them take the quiz, and you can just do a quick check to see if you're kind of on track with theirs. We're going to narrow our focus now on a specific way to give the gift of love, and that's encouragement. And who doesn't appreciate encouragement? Have you ever had a bad day, maybe a bad month or a bad year, and all of a sudden you get a text from somebody or a message or a card or a call, and it was exactly at the right time that you needed it, and it was exactly the words that you needed? I'm guessing that we all have. And while we know that miracles, such as what we read about in Scripture, were only for a time and don't occur, we also know that God works through us to be his hands and feet, Jesus' hands and feet. And so we never know how God wants us in a place at a certain time to do something for someone else. And the message that they may have conveyed to you, and you probably still remember it, would have been something like, you matter. Or maybe they said, you are capable, not in so many words, but you were feeling really doubtful about your capabilities, and they said just the right thing. You work hard, and we are appreciating you. You helped me. Thank you. I love you. Or I prayed for you today. Receiving that message of encouragement when we need it is a blessing from God. Let's not ever forget that, and we never know how he's going to allow us to be a blessing to others. Proverbs 25:11 says, a word fitly spoken is like apples of gold and pitchers of silver. Much of the language in the Bible centers around precious metals, and so here we have gold and silver being pictured, meaning not only is it beautiful, but it's precious. And it's more precious than we can ever imagine, especially when we're on the giving end, but we surely know it when we're on the receiving end. Encouragement is at the heart of who we are as Christians. Paul, in a letter to the Romans, lists exhortation in New King James Version as one of the gifts needed in serving others. Exhortation is another word for encouragement. The Greek word for encourage means to call near and to invite. When you encourage someone, it's as if you're pulling them close to you. You're inviting them to perhaps borrow some of your joy or your peace or your comfort through Jesus until they can find it or find it again for themselves. We all need someone who believes we are more than what we think we are or more than we appear to be to others. And we need to be that person for each other. Hebrews 10:24. Let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works. So let's talk a little bit about encouragement. Giving encouragement starts with humility and love. Have there been times when you wanted to win that game, or you wanted to win at Domino's maybe, or you wanted to get the promotion, but it didn't work out? And so while you were disappointed, with a heart of humility and love, you affirmed and encouraged the one who did. Maybe you were having a really bad day and you're just running on fumes. I mean, you're just barely standing, and someone calls and needs to talk. And because they've had a bad day. Of course, if you're a mom, you're going to take that call and you're going to take it anytime, and you're going to be on that call for as long as is needed. If it's a friend, we might be a little tempted to say, "You think you've had a bad day? Let me tell you about my bad day. I think my bad day was worse than your bad day." Now we're competitive again, right? But instead, we drop everything. We listen patiently, and we provide comfort and encouragement in any way we can. Philippians 2:3 says, "Let nothing be done through selfish ambition or conceit, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem others better than himself." Giving encouragement requires sharing truth in love sometimes, doesn't it? Encouragement is more than just cheerleading. If you're a parent or a friend or a trusted advisor to someone, they may come to you to talk through a struggle that they're having, maybe with a behavior that's unwise, risky, or maybe a behavior that represents a rebellious heart toward God. God may have placed you in that spot. It's your opportunity to serve. You can be there for that person, and it's up to you to speak truth in love. To speak truth by representing His word and His will accurately and without apology. This is our God that we're talking about. It's His book and it's His will, and we submit to that. And to speak the truth in love and kindness, and we reinforce the promise of Jesus' love, His cleansing blood. When applied to a penitent and obedient heart, forgives and continues to forgive all sin. Paul wrote to the Christians in Galatia, "If a man is overtaken in a trespass, you who are spiritual, restore such a one in a spirit of gentleness, considering yourself, lest you also be tempted." I love this word, the Greek word for restore is to mend, as if setting a broken bone. We would set a broken bone with care. We would want to take care of that, make it better. We would not be harsh. We would not be careless with it. And it means to mend, as if setting a broken bone. And we encourage this person to move forward as well. None of us want to be remembered for our worst selves, right? God doesn't want us to live in the past. After all, He's the God of new beginnings. Encouragement sees potential in others. Among those who played a key role in the early church was a man from Cyprus. His name was actually Joseph, but we know him as Barnabas. The apostles actually gave him that name because it means son of encouragement. And it stuck, and it replaced his original name, Joseph. Barnabas specialized in seeing the potential in people and then doing what he could to make that potential a reality. In the book of Acts, we read that when Saul, the persecutor of Christians, was baptized, became a Christian, and began to preach, and he was wanting to affiliate and socialize with the Christians at the church, led the local church. The Christians were afraid of him. After all, he had been holding the garments of people who had put their friends to death. But Barnabas stepped up and stepped in. And he was able to explain to the Christians there that, yes, Saul's conversion, now named Paul, Saul's conversion really was a conversion. And by the way, he's been boldly preaching about Jesus in Damascus. And so when he gave information and he used his own credibility with the Christians there, then they accepted Paul. And think about what would have happened if nobody had ever accepted Paul's conversion and all of the good that Paul did for the church and for the Lord. Paul and Barnabas were teaching and preaching in Antioch. And Paul wanted to go with Barnabas on a mission trip. Barnabas suggested, well, let's take Mark and to go with us. Paul was having none of it because Mark had messed up. Mark had bailed out on a previous occasion in Pamphylia, and Paul was still remembering that. And of course, he was doing it, no doubt, out of a good heart. He wanted the missionary journey to go well. He didn't want to take Mark, and Barnabas said, I'll go with Mark. I'll go with Mark. Paul went with Silas. And so now, instead of just one missionary journey to be able to go preach and teach the word, we had 2 missionary journeys. And think about how well that worked for the growth of the church at that time. And then, near the end of his life, Paul had come around, and he loved Mark. In Colossians 4, he talks about how he's a fellow worker and a comfort to me. And later, Mark authored the inspired gospel that bears his name. Because of Barnabas's gift of encouragement, 2 men grew to be great men in God's service, and they might have been left behind. But they were given the gift of a second chance, the gift that we would all want to be given as well. Let's resolve to be an encourager. I know you already are. Let's make that call, send that card, give that hug. It's a seed of grace that we can plant in someone's day. We will never know how God is going to use those words to lift someone's heart to Him. My prayer is that we will all grow in having a servant heart like Jesus, that will be His hands and feet for those we know, for those we don't know, and will be an encourager by telling others about Jesus, so that they can know the salvation and peace that we find in Him.